The Moon Whisper Academy gleamed beneath twilight skies, its crystalline towers catching the last rays of sunset as magical beings from across the realms gather for the welcome feast. Among them, clutching her admission scroll with trembling hands, stood Yuki, a fox girl whose 9 silvery tails shimmered with nervous energy. "Deep breaths," she whispered to herself, smoothing down her crimson academy robes. Her pointed ears twitched at every sound, picking up fragments of conversation from the elegant vampires, the graceful elven twins, and the confident dragonkin already mingling in the great hall. Yuki had dreamed of this moment for years. Raised in a remote mountain shrine by her grandmother, she practiced proper etiquette religiously. Every bow, every gesture, every word, she rehearsed them all. What she hadn't accounted for was her tales. As she approached the entrance, a kind-faced dear spirit named Hannah held the door open. "Welcome. You must be new." Yuki's heart swelled. This was it, her chance to make a perfect first impression. She clasped her hands together and bent into a deep, respectful bow. "Thank you so much for your..." Crash! Her tails, responding to her excitement, swept outward like a furry tsunami. 3 ornamental chairs flanking the entrance went airborne, clattering across the marble floor. A decorative vase shattered. Somewhere, a cat familiar yowled in surprise. Yuki froze mid-bow, her face turning the same shade as her robes. "I am so sorry. I didn't mean..." "It's quite all right." Hannah laughed, her eyes twinkling. The entrance hall needed redecorating anyway. "Come, let's get you to your table." The great hall was breathtaking. Floating candles cast golden light across long tables laden with exotic foods from every realm. Crystal goblets sparkled, and the ceiling displayed a perfect night sky, complete with shooting stars. Yuki felt her tails begin to wag with wonder, and she immediately tucked them close, wrapping them around her waist like an unwieldy belt. She was assigned to the starlight table, where several students already sat chatting. Among them, she noticed a handsome wolf spirit named Rainer, whose silver fur and amber eyes made her heart skip. He looked up as she approached, offering a warm smile. "Is this seat taken?" Yuki asked softly. "All yours," Rainer replied, gesturing to the chair beside him. "I'm Rainer, first year." "Yes, I'm Yuki from the Northern Shrines." Determined to redeem herself, she executed what she thought was a perfect seated bow. Her tails had other plans. They unfurled with explosive force, sweeping across the table like a fluffy avalanche. Plates launched into the air. The massive crystal punch bowl teetered, then toppled, sending a cascade of sparkling berry punch across the table in a glittering tidal wave. The entire hall fell silent. Yuki wanted the floor to swallow her whole. Then Rainer started laughing, not mockingly, but with genuine amusement. "Well," he said, wringing punch from his sleeve, "that's certainly one way to break the ice." Despite the catastrophic introduction, Rainer's kindness proved infectious. Soon the entire starlight table was laughing, sharing napkins and helping clean up the mess. Even so, Yuki's mortification lingered like a stubborn stain. "I've ruined everything," she whispered to Hannah, who'd come over with a spell to dry the tablecloth. "They probably think I'm a disaster." "Nonsense," Hannah assured her. "Everyone has trouble adjusting at first. Last year, a salamander boy accidentally set the headmaster's beard on fire during orientation. You're doing fine." The feast continued with speeches from the faculty, including the headmaster, an ancient phoenix named Master Ember whose feathers glowed with inner fire. He spoke of tradition, growth, and finding one's unique magic. Yuki tried to pay attention, but her eyes kept drifting to Rainer, who was now engaged in animated conversation with a group of shapeshifters. After dinner, students were encouraged to mingle in the moonlit gardens. Yuki considered hiding in her dormitory, but Rainer appeared at her elbow before she could escape. "Want to see the Academy's famous stargazing tower?" he asked. "The view is incredible." Yuki's tails began to swish with nervous excitement. She caught them just in time. Yes, I like that. But I should warn you, I'm apparently dangerous to furniture." Rainer grinned. "Lucky for you, the tower is furnished mostly with cushions." They walked through corridors illuminated by bioluminescent moss, past classrooms where tomorrow's lessons in spellcraft and transformation would take place. Rayner told her about his own journey to the academy, how he'd struggled to control his wolf instincts during full moon, sometimes howling at inappropriate moments. "The point is," he said as they climbed the spiral stairs, "everyone here has something they're working on. Your tail situation? That's just your thing." The tower room was indeed cushion-filled, with large windows opening onto a panoramic view of the star-strewn sky. Yuki gasped at the beauty, her tails unfurling slightly in awe. This time, they only knocked over a small cushion. Progress. "It's beautiful," she breathed. "Yeah," Rayner agreed, but he was looking at her rather than the stars. A comfortable silence settled between them. Then Yuki felt it, a strange tingling in her tails, as if they were responding to something beyond her control. They began to glow faintly with silver light. "Rayner," she said nervously, "something's happening." Before he could respond, a figure materialized in the doorway. A ethereal woman with flowing robes that seemed to be made of starlight itself. Professor Celine, the Academy's resident expert on magical manifestations. "I thought I might find you here, Miss Yuki," she said, her voice melodious. "Your tales are quite remarkable. Has anyone ever told you they're not just appendages? They're conduits for emotional magic, rare among fox spirits." Yuki blinked. "Emotional magic?" "Indeed. When you feel strongly about something, excitement, embarrassment, affection, your tales respond by releasing magical energy. Without training, that energy manifests as, well, chaos." Professor Celine smiled knowingly. "But with proper instruction, you could channel it into something extraordinary. I'd like to take you on as a private student, if you're willing." Yuki looked at Rayner, then back at the professor. "You mean I'm not just clumsy?" "Oh, you're definitely clumsy," Professor Celine laughed. "But you're also potentially very powerful. What do you say?" The following weeks transformed Yuki's academy experience. While her days were filled with standard classes, magical theory, realm history, basic spellcraft, her evenings belonged to Professor Celine's private tutorials in the Harmony Chamber, a specially reinforced room designed to withstand magical accidents. "Emotion is not your enemy," Professor Celine explained during their first session. "It's your fuel. But like any fuel, it must be refined and directed." Rayner had become a constant presence in Yuki's life, often walking her to and from her lessons. Their friendship deepened with each conversation. She learned about his passion for magical botany, his fear of disappointing his warrior clan, his dreams of breeding peace between different mystical species. In turn, she shared her grandmother's stories, her love of ancient poetry, her secret hope of becoming a diplomat someday. One evening, after a particularly challenging lesson where she'd managed to levitate a feather using only the energy from her tails, Rayner was waiting outside the Harmony Chamber with a basket. "Midnight picnic?" he suggested, his amber eyes gleaming with mischief. "I know a spot by the Whispering Lake that's absolutely perfect." They sneaked through the moonlit grounds, Yuki's heart racing with the thrill of breaking curfew. The lake was indeed perfect, its surface reflecting the stars so clearly it seemed they were suspended between two skies. Rayner spread out a blanket and unpacked treats he'd smuggled from the kitchens. Honey cakes, enchanted berries that sparkle on the tongue, and a thermos of hot chocolate that stayed perpetually warm. "This is amazing," Yuki said, settling beside him. Her tails arranged themselves peacefully around her, for once behaving. "You're amazing," Rayner said softly. "The way you've thrown yourself into training, never giving up despite all the setbacks, it's inspiring." Their eyes met, and Yuki felt that familiar tingle in her tails. But this time, instead of chaotic release, the energy felt warm, controlled, intentional. Soft silver light emanated from her tails, creating an intimate cocoon of luminescence around them. "Look at that," Rayner whispered. "You're doing it. You're actually controlling it." "Only because I'm with you," Yuki admitted, her cheeks flushing. "You make me feel centered, calm, like I don't have to be perfect." Rayner's hand found hers, his fingers intertwining with her delicate ones. "Good, because perfection is overrated. I much prefer you exactly as you are, tail chaos and all." He leaned closer, and Yuki's breath caught. When their lips met, it was gentle and tentative, a question and answer all at once. Her tail shimmered brighter, but the light was soft, beautiful, like moonbeams given form. The energy swirled around them, warm and protective, creating patterns in the air like dancing fireflies. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless and grinning, Yuki realized something profound had shifted. Professor Celine was right, she murmured. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about understanding it, working with it. So what you're saying is, Raynor teased, pulling her closer, I'm educational? She laughed, resting her head against his shoulder. Extremely educational. They stayed by the lake until nearly dawn, talking and kissing and watching her tails create increasingly beautiful light patterns as she experimented with different feelings. Joy, contentment, desire. Each emotion produced a unique glow, a distinct magical signature. For the first time since arriving at Moonwhisper Academy, Yuki felt like she belonged. The Autumn Ball was the Academy's most prestigious event, a night when students showcased their magical progress and socialized across factional lines. For Yuki, it represented both opportunity and terror. Professor Celine had suggested she perform a demonstration of her emotional magic, a chance to prove that what had seemed like disastrous clumsiness was actually untapped potential. Are you sure about this? Yuki asked during their final practice session, her 9 tails weaving complex light patterns in the air. She'd come so far in 2 months, learning to channel anxiety into focused energy, excitement into creative displays, even anger into protective barriers. I'm certain, Professor Celine assured her, you've mastered the fundamentals. Now it's time to trust yourself. The night of the ball, Yuki stood before her mirror in a flowing gown that shimmered like starlight, a gift from Hannah, who became her closest friend after Raynor. The dress was designed specifically for her, with an open back that allowed her tails to move freely. She looked beautiful, but her stomach churned with nerves. A knock at her door revealed Raynor in formal robes, his silver fur brushed to perfection. His expression when he saw her made every anxious moment worthwhile. "Yuki," he breathed, "you look—" "I don't have words." "Try. Hopefully won't destroy the ballroom," she suggested with a nervous laugh. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "Hey, look at me." When she met his eyes, he cupped her face gently. "You've got this. And even if something goes wrong, I'll be right there. Always." His kiss was deep and reassuring, his hands sliding from her face down her neck, along her sides. Yuki melted into him, her tails wrapping around them both instinctively, creating a private cocoon of silver light. The energy between them built, not chaotic but harmonious, 2 magical signatures intertwining. "We should go," Raynor murmured against her lips, though neither moved to leave. "Probably," Yuki agreed, her fingers threading through his fur. They kissed again, more urgently this time, the magical energy around them intensifying. Her tails began to glow brighter, responding to her desire, and Yuki consciously channeled that energy outward, letting it flow through her instead of building to explosive release. It was working. The very feelings that once caused chaos were now under her command. When they finally made it to the ballroom, the sight stole Yuki's breath. The hall had been transformed into an autumn wonderland, with magical leaves in gold and crimson drifting through the air, never quite touching the ground. Music swirled from an invisible orchestra, and students danced in elaborate formations. Master Ember took the stage to announce the evening's demonstrations. Yuki's name was called last. She walked to the center of the ballroom, her heart pounding. Hundreds of eyes watched her, the same eyes that had witnessed her disastrous arrival months ago. But now, instead of fear, she felt determination. Yuki closed her eyes and reached for her emotions. The embarrassment of that first night, the joy of friendship with Hannah, the warmth of Raynor's support, the pride in her progress, and yes, the deep, intimate affection she felt when they were alone together. Her tails began to move. The energy flowed from her in controlled waves, each tail painting a different emotion in light and color. The embarrassment became ruby red ribbons that transformed into golden joy. The friendship manifested as soft pink streams that danced with silver threads of love. The patterns grew more complex, more beautiful, telling the story of her journey without words. The ballroom gasped collectively as her magic filled the space, a aurora of emotional energy that complemented rather than destroyed. Chairs remained firmly on the ground. Nothing broke. Nothing spilled. She'd done it. When Yuki opened her eyes, the room erupted in applause. Master Ember's proud smile was matched only by Professor Celine's delighted grin. But the only face Yuki sought was Raynor's. And when she found him, the pride and love in his expression made her tales glow even brighter. She hadn't just controlled her magic. She transformed it into art. The success of the Autumn Ball changed everything. Suddenly, Yuki wasn't a clumsy fox girl who destroyed furniture. She was a prodigy of emotional magic, the student who turned weakness into wonder. Other students sought her advice. Younger fox spirits wanted her as a mentor, and she even received an invitation to demonstrate her abilities at the prestigious Inter-Realm Summit. But success brought its own challenges. "You're different lately," Raynor observed one evening as they studied together in the library. Distant. Yuki looked up from her spellbook, startled. "I'm just busy. The summit preparation, extra lessons, the mentoring." "I know," he said gently, "but you're so focused on perfect control now that you've forgotten what made your magic special in the first place. It wasn't just control, Yuki. It was authenticity. Emotion. You." His words stung because they were true. In her quest to never be the disaster again, she'd begun suppressing her feelings rather than channeling them. Her magic had become technically proficient but emotionally hollow. That night, unable to sleep, Yuki wandered to the stargazing tower where everything had begun. Professor Celine was already there, as if she'd been expected. "Can't sleep?" the professor asked. "I'm afraid," Yuki admitted. "Afraid of losing control again, of being laughable, of disappointing everyone who now believes in me." Professor Celine was quiet for a moment. "Do you know why I took you as a student, Yuki? Not because I saw potential for perfect control. I saw someone whose emotions were so powerful, so genuine, that they couldn't be contained. That's not a flaw, it's a gift. The goal was never to eliminate chaos. It was to dance with it. But what if I fail? What if I knock over chairs at the summit in front of ambassadors from every realm?" "Then you knock over chairs," Professor Celine said simply, "and you laugh, and you get back up, and you remember that your worth isn't determined by furniture placement. It's determined by the courage to be yourself, imperfections and all." The words settled into Yuki's heart like missing puzzle pieces. The next day, she found Raynor in the moonlit gardens, working with his magical plants. When he saw her, his expression was guarded. She'd hurt him with her distance. "I'm sorry," Yuki said immediately. "You were right. I got so caught up in being perfect that I forgot to be real." Raynor set down his gardening tools. "And now I want to remember what it feels like to just be with you. No performances, no demonstrations. Just us." His smile was slow but genuine. "I can work with that." They spent the afternoon together, not doing anything particularly magical, just walking, talking, being, and when Raynor kissed her beneath a flowering moonbell tree, Yuki didn't try to control the resulting magic. She let it flow naturally, her tales creating a spontaneous light show that was beautiful precisely because it was unplanned. A small chair nearby tipped over. They both looked at it, then at each other, and burst out laughing. "There she is," Raynor murmured, pulling her close. "There's my Yuki." The Inter-Realm Summit came and went. Yuki's demonstration was powerful, impressive, and yes, at one point, she did accidentally send a goblet flying with an overenthusiastic tail swish. But instead of mortification, she laughed, apologized gracefully, and continued. The ambassadors loved it, remarking that her magic felt more alive, more authentic than any they'd seen. Because it was. On her final night at the academy that semester, Yuki stood in the great hall where her journey had begun. The chairs she once destroyed had been replaced, but a small plaque nearby read, "Site of Yuki's legendary arrival." Master Ember had insisted. Raynor found her there, slipping his hand into hers. "Thinking about that first night?" "Thinking about how far I've come," Yuki said, "and how grateful I am that I knocked over those chairs. Otherwise, none of this would have happened. So what you're saying is chaos has its place? She grinned, her 9 tails fanning out in a display of pure, uncontrolled joy. Chaos has its place. And apparently, so do I. As they kissed in the hall where she'd once been mortified, her tails swept out in a magnificent arc. And yes, they knocked over exactly 3 chairs, the same number as that first day. Some things, Yuki decided, were worth keeping imperfect,